Please welcome to the stage Justin Hine, the founder, and Calvin Sribniak-Jones, I should have read that name before I started talking, the director of marketing for Spenz.
Looks a lot bigger as a zero down there. Hi, I'm Justin Hine, the founder of Spenz. I have a problem. Something shared by most, if not all, of my generation. I have no idea where my money goes. None. I spend and I just don't think about it. So my team and I set out to solve the problem of budgeting and tracking your money. Not like everybody else, but fun and fast. We've taken Spenz from idea to launch in just under 6 months and completely bootstrapped. Today I present to you Spenz, the Where Did Your Money Go app. So how is Spenz different? Well, first, we're going to make inputs fast, super fast. I want you to be able to whip out your phone and input any expense in under 3 seconds. Secondly, when it comes to your money, anonymous is a good thing, maybe one of the most important things. We'll never ask you for your credit card or bank information, not even your name. When it comes to your finances, we believe that being proactive is the key. For example, have you ever bought something with your credit card, walked away from the terminal, and had no idea what the price was? Being proactive will engage you in your finances. And finally, we're going to make it fun and rewarding. Gen Y, or my generation, is all about playing games. It only makes sense that we add those same principles to encourage them to track their cash. So let's jump right into a demo. Can we switch over to the Elmo cam? So I'm going to take you through an average day or week in my life, and I'll use Spenz as I go. I started my week off right, and I went to McDonald's this morning. I had a bacon and egg McMuffin. So I put in $5.25. I click McDonald's. I click breakfast. I hit submit. Done. Now, how did Spenz know to put McDonald's and breakfast at the top? Well, that's because Spenz tracks both the pattern and frequency of my top tags and intuitively responds. So in the morning, breakfast stuff rises up. And by the time Saturday night rolls around, it's probably going to be beer. Now notice here at the bottom, I've gotten +2 experience points and +3 Spenz tokens. Now what are those used for? For that, let me show you one more input. I have a girlfriend, and it's time that I start tracking what I spend on her. So let's pretend it's Friday night, and I've just taken Sonia out for a nice $80 steak dinner. I open up Spenz, I put in $80, I click dinner and keg, and I'm going to add a girlfriend tag. I click done, I hit submit, I've gotten my experience points, and I've unlocked an achievement. Let's view it. So achievements are ways that we encourage our users to do some great spending habits. For instance, there's a taxi badge. Man, would I love to know how much I spend on taxis every month. Or patterns. We'll give you a badge for tracking once a day for 7 days in a row. But achievements are not just about badges. It's also about leveling up. So as you can see, I'm a level 3 Spenzer, and I'm on my way to being a level 4. Every time I input a transaction, I get more experience points. As I level up, I get experience points and Spenz tokens faster. So what are Spenz tokens used for? Spenz tokens unlock deals. So let's go to Spenz Rewards. Spenz Rewards is split up into 2 sections, featured and everybody else, or everything else. Featured deals are based on my spending habits and are really easy to unlock. Now, one of the first ways we're going to make money is by working with companies to get the right deals in front of the right audience, which we feel is a great win-win scenario. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, a budgeting app without a budget would be quite pointless. But I think we've gone one step farther and allowed for subcategorization. So, as I said before, I want to track what I'm spending on my girlfriend. I've created a budget line that's called Girlfriend. It's got a goal of $300, and it's going to track flowers, dinners, and condoms. And I can easily see the total and the breakdown of each. Now, since when you sign up to Spenz, you give us some demographic information. With the you versus them feature, I can show you insights like never before. So I'm 26 years old, and my age group is 24 to 26. And you can see that on coffee, I spent $40 this week, but my age group has spent $60. Not bad. But hold on, this month I've actually spent more than my age group, so maybe I'll want to slow down. And we can show you all sorts of new and interesting insights into your spending. So let's jump back over to the presentation. Now, Spenz Mobile, we also built Spenz Web to instantly back up everything you do on your mobile account. You can see in a glance everything you've done. So on my dashboard, I've got Submit, I've got my achievements, I've got my budget and my recent transactions, as well as if you want to jump over to the next tab, I've got all my badges that we talked about here today. So it's been a lot of fun showing you Spenz today. While we were on stage, we launched. And I haven't even told you the best part. For users, Spenz will always be free. Thank you very much.
That's Spenz. Because nothing says I love you like tracking every single penny you spend on your girlfriend. All right, so who has questions for Spenz?
You want to start?
How do you make money?
So the way we make money is working with companies to get the right deals in front of the right audiences. That's the first way. And then we're also creating a great database of anonymous consumer buying behavior that we want to work with marketers.
So you're building a local sales force to go to local businesses?
We're not going to do local businesses to start. We're going to work with national brands and then move towards a self-serve model.
So you're going to go out and build a sales force to deal with national businesses?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Because it's the things that I want. So as I spend, and I spend on coffee every day, maybe I want a 2-for-1 for the guy next door.
But until you have a critical mass of users giving you the businesses that they engage with, you're not going to know what to go out and get. So how do you sort of play that?
So the way we do with Spenz is we think that it's one of the best proactive ways to budget your money. And you can do that without even having to ever get a deal. Maybe budgeting your money will be important to you, and then when you get a little bit farther along, maybe 1-2 weeks, you get a bunch of tokens and you can cash those in for a deal.
No, but 1 to 2 weeks out, you're not going to have a critical mass enough to go get a national deal with a retailer to then put a deal in the platform for me to use, right? Or
not 2 weeks from now, no.
Okay. So you lost me there a little bit.
Stephen?
I struggle, and the struggle I have is if you look at the American consumer, in general, obviously we've gone through a crisis because of the fact that they are not fiscally focused.
Right.
So you're asking a group of people who have historically not been fiscally focused. When I mean historical, I'm not talking about like the last 3 years, like 30 years, have not really, focused on it. You're asking them to take a lot of time out of their day to become fiscally responsible with no real output. So like, I don't see where it turns into something that becomes a budgeting tool or like a Mint where it tries to help you figure out better options or, and I don't fully get the business model in terms of making money. So it feels to me like some of the businesses that I see where people are trying to solve their own problem and think it's a business. And it could be, and that's where I said I'm struggling, because it could be that so many people got completely hammered in 2007 that now they've come to the realization I better figure this out. But it just doesn't seem it from the data that's sort of going on. It seems like everyone's like, okay, things are back to normal, we're okay. And so I worry that you're promoting good values, but not necessarily going to have a great business.
Interesting.
Susan?
Yeah, it feels more like a feature that would be offered by a bank or by some financial institution that's a cool thing you can play with, a cool tool, more than it is a standalone business.
I think you've ignored the trend on the internet of open APIs and aggregation. So you're not using my credit card data, which a lot of people are willing to use. The #1 like financial iPad app or iPhone app is a site that aggregates all your accounts. So you're doing that, and then you're going out and saying, I'm going to go get deals ourselves, instead of saying, there are hundreds of companies out there dealing with merchants. We're just going to suck in all those deals and then put them in the right place with our users. So you've done you've not helped yourself by going out and using the work that other companies have done, which was my disconnect.
So Dave, I don't know if anonymity is really what people want.
Right.
Like, if I can go and get convenience, it seems like laziness trumps, the sort of being anonymous, I don't know why I care, right? People can know what I'm spending, like, what do I care?
I will say, figuring out how to do this, recording your expenses quickly and learning about somebody, that's neat. It's really neat, and that's fun, and making it fast. I want to commend you that that's a neat problem to solve, and I think that going after that's interesting. And I think what other folks in the panel are sort of saying is, okay, that's that, but where's the business? And I think that's where your struggle's at. I think another struggle, and I don't want to kind of pile them up, I think this is just good advice to listen to, especially the idea of there are other people who have deal databases. Use them, because building a Salesforce is a very different kind of company. The thing I see problematic, I'm a type A person, I think a lot of people in this room are probably type A, and we'll do something ad nauseum, and then we'll lose interest. And an app like this, as soon as I've lost interest, I've missed a week, I'm done. And so now I'm totally not going to go back because there's a big missing hole, it's no longer true, it doesn't fit my little way of thinking, and so I think you're going to have a churn problem. And that's something you really need to be careful of, is when you lose people, how do you bring them back in? And I'd also take the advice of where's the business model.
You're asking people to track very small transactions. Like, I was bored at the idea of the McDonald's breakfast thing before you'd even finished choosing McDonald's. It's like the convenience of a McDonald's suddenly becomes a real performance that I have to enter that in. It's like, if I'm tracking calories, that might be interesting, but if I'm tracking money, it's like, I'm not going to save a huge amount on a McDonald's breakfast anyway. Like, as in, I'm already pretty fiscally responsible if I'm eating breakfast at McDonald's. So I'm just wondering how poor you have to be precisely to get value.
McDonald's is going to work with a Foursquare before they're going to work with you because of the critical mass of users. So tying into just everything else that's out there might be the better direction to.
The thing is, you've hit on a huge problem, right? Which is people have no idea what's going on. And that's sort of what the marketers and credit card companies love is, spend until we essentially say, you can't afford to cover it anymore. So you've hit on a huge problem. You just haven't figured out how to make it a problem where, like, the value is so much greater than the work. I think that's probably what you hear us all saying is, by going after sort of making it anonymous and all those other things, this amazing opportunity that you've spotted is just, everyone can focus on is, oh my God, it's so much work, and if I miss a week, or, like, I'm never going to do all this stuff. Like, so it's just another thing I'm going to feel bad about. Like, it's like another diet I didn't finish, or like, it's just another thing. And so if you can find a way to make it where it's positive, I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, we're out of time, so round of applause for Spenz. All right, we're going to move on to the penultimate one of